Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan Gaffey, and I'm here today representing Apple as an intern. And I'm going to be talking to you today about how to effectively use body language in your next business meeting. Mastering body language is the key to success, and it's a common trait amongst successful people. If you've ever seen former CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, give a presentation, he is in tune with his body, he knows how to project confidence, and it makes him a better communicator with his audience. Here's a bit of a presentation overview. I'm going to start by giving you two simple tips, body language tips that you can use when you're not even presenting, when you're not the one presenting, when you're an active audience member in the conference room or in your next business meeting. After those two tips, I'm going to talk to you about three other body language tips that you can implement when you are presenting. These tips will hopefully let you come across more effectively, more genuinely, and most importantly, more confidently. I'll then conclude and wrap up the 5 steps again and open up the floor to questions and answers. So let's begin. As I said earlier, the first 2 steps that I'm going to introduce to you are tips that you can use when you're not presenting. You can still display confidence even when you're not the one in the center stage or in front of your colleagues. The first tip is just simple fact to come prepared. What this means is no matter what the length or the topic of the presentation, always bring a pen and paper. This will show your colleagues that you have an invested interest in what's being discussed and that you're ready to engage and you want to stay organized. This doesn't mean take notes on every frivolous detail, however. If you are scratching every note in the presentation, it could come across as nervousness. Instead, take notes on the pertinent information. In the meantime, look up and make eye contact with the presenter and nod your head and lean forward. This will show that you're engaged and ready to take notes and let your voice be heard. The next step has to do with choosing the right seat in the business room. As an intern, a lot of the time, the go-to seat in the business meeting is in the back or in the corner of the conference table. Instead, sit next to your boss. If there's a seat open, claim that spot. And don't sit there, with your arms crossed or slumped in your lap. Put your hands comfortably out on the table and just claim that territory. Your boss will see this as confidence, and he'll be the first one to hear what you have to say. The next 3 tips that I'm going to give to you are body language strategies that you can use while you're communicating or while you're presenting that'll help you communicate your topic ideas better. The first one is knowing your stuff. Everyone has seen the presentation where the person is standing in the middle of the room and going back and forth between looking at their audience and looking up at the board. Avoid doing that. Avoid using cue cards or relying on the slides. Instead, rely on your own intuition. Remember your stuff, know what you're going to say, and say it the way you want to say it. So come across better to your audience, and it'll be more receptive. This also allow you to face your audience. When you're facing your audience, it comes across much more openly than if you're spewing facts and talking at them after reading information up on the board. Another thing you can do is reiterate your key points. If you have 3 main ideas that you want your audience to take away in your presentation, use hand gestures like counting them out on your fingers. If you're a company and you have 3 main goals for the next quarter, count them out on your hand. For example, if you want to cut spending, raise income, and hire more employees, bang, bang, bang. Right on your hand, your audience is going to see this, and they're going to make a mental note that they should remember these 3 points are the takeaways of your presentation. The next tip is to move around. If you've ever seen Steve Jobs give a presentation or a keynote speech, he is always moving around. If you trace his steps, he kind of does laps back and forth. Just a general rule of thumb, look at the area that you have given to present, and you're going to want to use about 75% of that space. So as Dr. Buechler said before, don't be pacing back and forth, because that makes everyone feel uncomfortable. But just be comfortable in your own shoes and walk around, and make sure that you're changing the tone of your voice so that when you're standing over here, everyone over there can hear you just as well as the people that are sitting right in front of you. In addition to moving around, just generally get comfortable when you're in front of a room of your colleagues or of your peers. If you see Steve Jobs ever present his keynotes, he's very comfortable. He does things like smile and use exaggerated hand gestures to explain his points in further detail. This grabs the audience's attention and has them focus on him. And it's a nonverbal communication technique that will allow you to communicate better with your audience. At the bottom of the slide up here, there's the findings of a classical study done in the 60s by a psychologist in the University of California at Los Angeles. And what he did is he studied what the audience takes away the most during presentations. What he found is the word choice in your diction only leaves a 7% impact on your audience. The tone of your voice leaves about a 38% impact on your audience. But the biggest takeaway that your audience has from a presentation is your nonverbal communication. And that's why it's so important to be in tune with your body and to display confidence, because if you can do that, you'll communicate on a much better level with your colleagues. So once again, the 5 tips, the two body language tips to remember if you're not presenting but are going to the business meeting. Just come prepared and pick the right seat. Again, the 3 tips that you can use while you're presenting is to know your stuff, move around, and to get comfortable. This time I'd like to open the floor to questions. I'd be happy to answer.
You said bring a pen and paper. What about like an iPad or a laptop to take notes on? Or is that just as?
Yeah, I mean that's equally applicable. It's just easier to get distracted, I'd say, and if you have something in front of your face, you can tend to hide behind that. But if you have a pen and paper, you seem much more engaged. It'll also allow you to place your hands in front of you on the table, kind of showing that you're claiming your space at the table.
I think sitting next to your superior every time shows me something up a little bit.
Yeah, it's obviously not something that you want to, the first meeting, you don't want to jump in there. Or if it's another boss's seat, you don't want to take their seat. But if it's an important meeting, try to get closer to them. Don't always sit in the back or in the corner of the table, because that's not where your opinion's going to be heard by the people that have the most pull in the company.
Yeah, mine's about choosing the right seat. Wait, is there ever a time where like claiming your space is bad? Because I know like the general thought, head of the table, leading the meeting, got your closest advisors next to you. Like, is there ever like a bad place to, I guess, claim?
I wouldn't really know. I guess if you are sitting in between someone, or if there are designated seats for senior advisors or higher corporate people, you don't want to take their seat. Just I guess be aware of where it's acceptable to sit, and if there is a spot that's opened up next to your boss, ask him, can I sit here? Just run it by the person that you're sitting next to, and I'm sure you'll be fine.